Ryan White. I work as a medical registrar in East London. I'll be the one at night times or weekends who'll be looking after your mum if she comes to the hospital. She's very sick.
So, am I right in thinking? Are you like a junior doctor or?
Well, technically, I'm a junior doctor.
Right.
I've actually been a doctor since 2009, and I would be the most senior doctor at night, admitting for anything medical that's wrong with you. So yeah, technically a junior doctor, because anyone underneath a consultant is called a junior doctor.
Oh right, okay.
But I would be the most senior person running the hospital at night.
Do you know, I didn't actually know that. I'm not sure that's something that's generally known.
A lot of people are surprised.
Yeah. So, what were you doing outside by a table outside on Whitehall today?
Well, today we've been. It's just another day. It's actually day 3 of our indefinite talk-in, which is an indefinite junior doctor protest set up by Rachel Clark and Dagan Lonsdale, and the theme is that we want to avert the emergency strike more than anything else, and for that to happen we need for the government to listen to what we're saying and reopen meaningful negotiations, which means addressing our concerns on the contract, which stands to put patients at risk.
So did you manage to get Jeremy Hunt today? Did we see around? Or?
Yeah, actually, surprisingly, he invited me and Paolo, who's the other doctor on shift today. We worked out a shift.
Right.
He invited us up for a chat.
No way.
Yeah.
And was it productive, or was it?
I think the word that sums up is probably frustration. So he speaks about things like patient safety and so on, but the point that we were trying to hopefully get across and make him understand is that you can't just speak about patient safety. You have to be the one with me in the middle of the night in East London when we don't have enough A&E nurses to do a full shift. We're being put in a situation as the frontline staff in the NHS where we physically don't have enough doctors and nurses and enough space to do the job with more people coming through the door. And that's when patient safety is put at risk. The problem with this contract is it will actually stretch 5 days of doctors, which we can't even do a full 5 day. We've got rota gaps. That will put 5 days of doctors over 7 days. Nobody in the government has been able to explain to us how that is safe. One of the things that really I can't get my head around is what this is really about is not funding our NHS properly. We are already, some of the leading health economic papers that are out say we do not fund our health service even close to the level of France or Germany, and that's including private and public, and we're continually underfunding it more and more every day. So in the backdrop of this, in the backdrop of cuts to the NHS, what's the end game for the NHS? What are they really doing? You know, and yet the papers just kind of ignore this issue. I honestly believe, from the bottom of my heart, that the British people still want an NHS.
Absolutely.
And I think if this is out in the public domain, that what is happening is a systematic, dismantling of the NHS, I think people will be up in arms. But the problem is, if you read certain newspapers or watch the BBC, it's about a dispute with the union. And what we're seeing every day in A&E is a chronic lack of funding, lack of equipment, lack of staff. This puts patient safety at risk. And they need to listen to that. They need to actually put a minimum of nurses on at night, for example, in every hospital.
What do you think the end game is? Is there lots of evidence from your day-to-day work that the NHS is being stealth privatised?
Yeah. It's already, private companies are already intrinsic to the NHS. You walk in, you go to a Costa coffee shop, your bins are labelled with Serco. The shop in the hospital is might be a WH Smith. The people that supply the food, it's a private company. The people that do the labs often now is a private company. So actually, yes, the NHS is already made up of a lot of private companies, but we still have the umbrella at the moment of a unified NHS. Now, what their plan is to bring in these big conglomerates of healthcare in different regions of the country. It's already happened in Manchester, they've devolved it there. What they're doing in East London at the moment is Barts Health. The big East London group is going through their consultation process, so that's all going to get devolved. And the idea is that you denationalise, which is of course dismantling the NHS.
Absolutely,
Again, these sorts of things, I don't think they're explicit. We've had Virgin just recently buy two NHS hospitals, but they're not going to operate as Virgin. They are Virgin and the profits go to Virgin, but they're still going to keep the NHS balanced. Now this sort of thing, it's going on every day,
Yeah.
everyone knows it's going on, and especially the health professionals do, but it's amazing how it's just not really reported to the people that matter, which is everyone that uses the health service. Yes, providing very good healthcare is expensive. That's not just here, that's across the world. But that's a cost that as a nation we should be asked, are we willing to bear that cost? And I think most people would say, yes, we'd pay another 1 to 2% or whatever in order that we can actually have enough nurses at night or enough nurses at the weekend.
So moving forward, what is the strategy for you guys now then? Because the government's obviously forced this contract. What happens next?
Well, what happens next is we need to get to a point where we don't have a contract being imposed upon us which we can prove would negatively impact the health service.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. So the two things we want to achieve from sitting outside the Department of Health would be a withdrawal of the imposition and a return to meaningful negotiations. And by that we mean you have to be genuine about things and say, okay, we do need more staff and it's going to cost a bit more money, and not this discussion which persistently just ends with there's no money, because there's money
Yeah.
somewhere.
There is definitely money somewhere, absolutely.
What we've seen from a video which was the Public Accounts Committee, and that had a representative of all of the senior bodies of the NHS, it was clear that one of the head guys in the Department of Health actually didn't have a clue about headcount, didn't have a clue about what
Yeah.
the cost of a 7-day NHS was. He admitted it in front of an MP and a meeting. They didn't know how many GPs were going to be retiring in the next few years. They didn't know how many doctors were coming in. They didn't know how many nurses they had at the moment. And it's actually scary when you look at that these people are in charge of the NHS.
Sort of final word to the general public and the people out there. As a doctor, what would you say to them and to consider about what's going on with this situation?
I would say I love my job as a doctor. I think I'm a good doctor. I think I would be a doctor who would want to look after you or your family in the middle of the night. And on the emergency strike day, we are going to have consultants covering us. In my hospital, I can tell you for a fact, it's going to be better than normal. Do not worry. Do not listen to the papers or the government. If you're unwell on the emergency strike, go to the hospital as you would do any other day. You will have an excellent level of care. About everything else, it sounds a bit cliched, but if you somebody who's trained to look at evidence, I can promise you this contract is bad news. And it's bad news because it's not based on evidence and it's going to put patient safety at risk. And that is why myself and probably about 50,000 other junior doctors have come to the independent decision we can't accept this contract.
Thank you very much for chatting. Ben, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for taking part and good luck. Thanks for watching the Gentleman Cabbie. Click the videos to see more great interviews and don't forget to subscribe.